You ever have the times where you go out and I just I met these people, then I ended up hanging out with these people, then I met a bunch more people, then like the connections just kept going. And then
Mm-hmm.
I ended up hanging out with somebody else, and I ended up at a party. And then at the party I met some more people, and then it was late. So it's like I feel like I plugged into a bunch of people.
Wow.
Like one after the
Okay.
next, after the next, after the next.
Sounds fun and exhausting.
Yeah, that's good. I was home late.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's part of, and I didn't like try to sell anything. It just, in the natural course of events, people would ask me, what do you do? And then
Yes.
bam. Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that's exactly, so I'm executing your idea, and I've known about it as well. And I'm seeing the need for that elevator pitch. Because it's like in conversation. What do you do? Well, bam.
Yeah.
And then they get it. Something like that.
Yeah. Even if it just gets the conversation rolling, like even if it just gets the ball rolling, you've got a place to start, and if it doesn't go anywhere, you can move on to something else, or people are curious, they ask questions.
Yeah.
But you're not floundering around going, well, it's kind of like, and have you ever heard of, and
I just, yeah.
you don't have to do any of that.
Yeah, it just comes out crisp and clear and straight.
Mm-hmm. And obviously it's not going to really do it justice.
No, nothing. Yeah.
But that's not the purpose. The purpose is just to give somebody some basic orientation that's not going to be too far off the mark.
Yeah.
So they know you're not a plumber, right? Like you don't work in the circus. Like, what do you do?
What do you do? I'm fixing pipes today.
Your pipes.
Yeah.
What?
Your fucking mental pipes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was great. So I think one of the things I did was I was going up in the car. Now this is probably unrelated. I was trying to free myself from people. And what I mean by that is I was in the car and I was trying to look at, I'm like, you know how I was looking into my own neediness with others. And maybe more specifically women, but it comes up in relationship to others, and realizing that I think I discovered a lack of integrity on my part where I need other people. So I'm going to try to explain this, but I don't know if it's going to come across well. Because somehow at the base, I need others to view me a certain way. And if I'm wrapped up in having other people needing to view me a certain way, I modify my actions in favor of that image that they make up, that I'm assuming they're making up. So like if I look out at a person and I think they don't like me, that's my vision of them, my perception of them, which could easily be influenced by my own shit. And I see them not liking me, which I could be totally making up. And I change myself so that now they like me and I feel better. And I realize that because I have this going on, there's a strong drive to not just represent myself as I am. I can't. Mm-hmm. Because I need to represent myself in a way that gets them to like me. Mm-hmm. Say. Mm-hmm. And so then, and if that's really strong, like life or death strong, like survival strong, I'm going to be a liar. I'm going to be a fake. Because I'm scared shitless of them not liking me. Is that tracking? Is that making sense?
Yeah, I'm thinking about like how you want them to actually see you, and what you're afraid of specifically if they don't.
Yeah, it's I have that they need to see me a certain way.
Like purple?
Yeah, whatever way.
That's what I'm asking. Is like,
Oh,
how do you want them
what
to
way
see?
is it? Oh,
Yeah, like ballpark it or be specific. I don't know.
yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's important to me. It's more that I need them to see me that way.
Okay. Well, what happens if they
So
don't?
like, well, if they don't, that you see, that's where it gets convoluted. So, what before I go down that road,
Sure.
what I wanted to share about that is now I was realizing there's a split, like a lack of integrity, because I'm now representing myself some way that I'm not. And if I've done that enough in my life, that becomes me. And I become, like, as this manifestation, you know, the guy, the character person, becomes one that has an inherent lack of integrity because it's, like, been done forever. So then I move through the world as this broken thing, broken, you know, split, and I'm uncomfortable around people. And then I have to constantly fake it to some degree. And that's what I was drawing my attention to, or that's what caught my attention was that. And then so I'm like, oh yeah, I do kind of have this split. And so I started to not do that.
Okay.
And tried to release myself from others. And then so some of the takeaways for me were like, oh, it's like, no, I can't, you know, act in a way that does have integrity. If I want to be real, I have to be real and I have to accept the consequences, which people may not like it. But if it's not directed in a bad way, it's okay. And then I also noticed that if I am busy trying to, basically what it means is I have to control what other people think and feel around me. And so I have to like do the dance. And I'm locked into doing a dance. So now I'm trapped. I'm totally dominated by others, which means now I might resent them because they dominate me. Why? Because I think they need to like me all the time. You'd say. And then now I'm also like a bit of a control freak. I have to control them. I don't know anybody has done that. And I have to control them, and there was something else attached to that, like, I'm weaker. I'm weak. And a coward, in addition. Because I never stand up for myself, because myself has to be fluid. Why? Because I need everybody to like me. I have to be able to change to fit whoever I'm with. And so there's all these like knock-on consequences. And I tried to release myself from others. It's like, oh yeah, and then so stuff. I'm kind of making now I'm entering into the make it up territory. But you know, people like in Landmark, they might talk about if you restore your integrity, shit just works better. You know, maybe restoring my integrity as a human being, and then realizing, oh, if I just am straight with people, I don't get to control them. So there's like this element of it's not up to me what they think of me. And that is probably for some people scary.
Sure. Yeah.
Something like that. So yeah, so I noticed all that. So yeah, specifically, it was kind of like an internal feeling of needing, and oh yeah, and I was looking at it like, what the fuck is this? Like, I don't know. It's like I need other people's attention. And that's what it came down to. It's not necessarily like, is it their approval? Yes, but it's more like maybe positive attention directed at me. And I was thinking about that, like, why the fuck do I need people to pay attention to me? Like, what does that even mean? Like, what is it when somebody pays attention? You know, like I watch my friends' kids, you know, niece and nephew, whatever, they're growing up, and I watch them, say one of them wants their parents' attention. somehow just the act of somebody putting attention on somebody else becomes a necessity. And I guess for a kid, this is what I'm making up. Again, pontificating a bit here, is kids need their parents' attention because that's synonymous probably with fucking food or something. If parents,
it's even more than that, but yeah.
Okay, yeah. If parents don't put their attention on me,
like
that's
if you put infants in a like, a lot of infants will die if they're not given attention, even if they're given food and rest, they'll just die.
Yeah, what the fuck is that about?
Well, we're not. It's the kind of creature we are. I think we're organically
it's very
we're social
biological,
creatures.
probably.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would be like biological survival in that case. So I was noticing that desire for because it came down to attention. Because I'm like, I'm looking around. There's nobody there. I mean, I'm in my car driving, whatnot. And I'm going, why do I need attention? And then it's like I need it directed at me, and then directed at me what I imagine a certain way. So now we've got a problem here. Because I turn into a dancing bear that's fake. And I was just wondering about why and then I can hear what I imagine people are going to come up with, like some intellectual stuff about science, which I get it, or kids like I came up with, which I get all that. Yes, I acknowledge that stuff, but it still doesn't explain why it exists.
What do you mean explain why it exists?
Like the existence of it, and especially the existence of it for an adult, which again, I can hear the explanation. Well, you did it when you were a kid and da-da-da-da-da. But then it turns into this other thing where I need specific kinds of attention. I think, and maybe I'm getting lost. I don't know. It's something about attention.
No.
And right. Sorry, excuse me.
Yeah.
And needing the attention. It's not just, it's the need. It's not just that I get it. It's that I need it. Now we have a strong driver. Yeah. Now I'm going to be very motivated to lie. I'm going to be very motivated to act in certain ways that aren't authentic to me. And then the consequences roll on from there. So I was trying to free myself from that. Like, just relax. I don't need their attention. You're answering your other question. Your other question was, what's going to happen? Right, great question. What's going to happen if I don't get it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No. What's actually going to happen? Nothing. What's going to happen, what I think is happening, is what the feeling says.
Yeah, what are you afraid is going to happen?
I think it's like I'm going to get... I think it's like left, rejected, dismissed. Dismissed kind of hits home for me a bit. Like, I'll just be nah, fuck you. Kind of, You're nothing. You're pathetic. You're
unimportant.
Yeah, unimportant. Like in that direction, it doesn't punch as hard, but like that. You're worthless. You're like a footnote in history of nothing. Not even a footnote. Like a speck of the first letter of the footnote of like that's how meaningless you are. You're like a little pathetic nothing. Like a feeling. Huh?
Yeah.
So then I was working to detach myself, extricate myself from the complex of confusion. The COC.
Okay.
Complex of confusion. What I'm making up is, it's like this is just confusing. It doesn't work. Doesn't feel good. And I'm a liar. And I realized I don't have to be. And then it's interesting. I don't know if they're related, but say I was on my way from home from Houston and I was looking out at the world. There are a couple times where these little cracks appear, like these little, wait a minute, my whole perspective on this could be wrong. Like my entire perspective, where like say for women as a whole, I relate to women as a whole. That whole relationship that I get caught up in, and the drama, and the what if they don't like me, and then I have to fake it, and then the whole thing. What if the whole thing, which is how I feel, but also how I perceive what's out there, coming from how I feel, as if coming from me, the whole thing, both me and self and other, like that, maybe that whole thing is bullshit. And these little like kind of dropping it to where my reality just changes. But in a world level, that's not very, like the whole thing, the entire perspective can shift.
Yeah,
Not
because
just
your
like
entire
one part.
perspective shifts.
Like that, yeah. So that possibility started to creep in, like, oh yeah, maybe not. Maybe all this, because there's all this drama and this fire and this like, what if the world is like it just, and I have to react and I'm in pain and it's so real. The whole thing could just be a farce.
I think it's worse than that, because I think if the whole thing, I think if the whole thing was just a farce, it would be easier to drop. But the problem is that there's actually some truth to everything that you said. Like, if enough other people think badly enough of you, they're gonna fucking kill your ass. That's the reality. If enough people actually don't care about you, they will ignore you and dismiss you. Like, and your survival actually does depend on other people. It's not just a story. But when you have a heuristic,
what's a heuristic?
The way I think of a heuristic, I don't know if I know the definition of a heuristic, but I think a good example of a heuristic is always assume a firearm is loaded, and you fucking check the chamber before you hand it to somebody, and then they check the chamber even after you just handed it to them, after they watched you check the chamber. That's a heuristic.
Okay,
it's
here's the definition.
Okay.
Oh, maybe rules that. Yeah, you might be. Listen to this. You tell me. Heuristic, adjective, enabling someone to discover or learn something for themselves. A hands-on or interactive heuristic approach to learning. So hands-on. In computing is proceeding to a solution by trial and error or by rules that are only loosely defined. A heuristic process or method. So I think your use of the word is incorrect in this case.
Well, maybe like rules that are only loosely defined. So like rules that like there's probably lots of exceptions to, and if you logically think about it, you know that there are exceptions to them.
Yeah.
But they're still so useful that you hold on to them anyway. So like what I was saying about gun safety.
Yeah.
Right? Like the basic.
Yeah, if you do that, never. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Right. Like so you have like rules about gun safety, and those rules I know it's not loaded. I check anyway.
Yeah.
And then it's not loaded. You check anyway. And we do that every single time in this OCD way. It's a heuristic. It's a rule of thumb. And because everybody does that, or enough people do that, we cut way down on accidents.
Yeah.
Right? It's a very valuable heuristic.
Yeah.
There are other really good examples in jiu-jitsu. It's like, what is passing the guard? Well, get past the knees. Right? Yeah. There's like a million different guard passes, but if you just get past the knees, you're a long way there. Right?
Yeah.
It's not technically a guard pass, but chances are if you pass the knees, you pass the guard.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like if you have this assumption that you formed when you were an infant, slightly older, that wasn't based on very much logic, but you had something basic worked out.
Sure.
It was valuable. And it is valuable because it's actually based on something that is in some ways true. And then so you question that in some ways true. So I'll push back on that.
Yeah. Well, it
But
depends on what we mean by true, of course. So there's.
okay, well, what I'm talking about is as a human being, people generally need other human beings for their health and well-being.
How about we make up a term relatively true?
Well, then I would apply that to absolutely everything that isn't absolute. Nobody knows what I'm talking about when I say that. So if you want to, we can do that, except you and a couple other people.
I
have.
You mean true as in like if I don't do it, it's gonna, I need it to survive physically.
Yeah, basically, like if
like it gets a job done.
Yeah. Well, it's for a human being, for a living human being.
Yeah.
But everybody who might be listening to this is, or thinks that they are.
Yeah.
Okay. But all the way down, and as far as human beings go, it does matter, and we do need each other. And if you don't have that, you are going to have some problems, depending on the person and so forth. But it's also a heuristic. That's why I'm saying there's the rub. That's why it sucks. That's why it's harder than just it's all a farce, because it is farcical. It is a heuristic. It is a basic rule, and it is outdated, and it is inaccurate, and you're confusing it with something that's more absolute or more total or more, maybe not absolute, but
I'm a
total.
little bit lost. What are you trying to say?
All right, so you're saying you need other people to see you a certain way, all right?
Yeah, that's the thing gotten out of hand.
That's the thing that's gotten out of hand, right? And then if you think about it logically and you look at it closely, all right, and you could experiment with it, I suppose, in different ways. You'll find that probably two things are relatively true. Number one, that is not accurate. You don't need people.
Right. Not like that.
Not like that.
If I'm going to be very specific, because
you don't need to do that song and dance all the time. You don't need to be so concerned with what you think other people are thinking all the time. You don't need to be twisting yourself into knots and bending yourself out of shape and sacrificing your own integrity about what you really want to express at any given moment. You don't have to do that.
Right.
At the same time, it would be inaccurate for you to say that other people's thoughts and feelings about you don't matter at all to you and don't have any bearing on you as a person for your survival. That also wouldn't be true.
Oh, right. You say that again? The last part.
That it doesn't, that other people's thoughts about you don't actually have any bearing on your survival. They do. And you know that they do.
Right, because they will, yes. They're going to relate based on what they think and see and perceive of me.
Exactly. So the heuristic, which is false, feeds into something that you know to be true, and the two get conflated.
Yeah.
So and that's harder than just being like, oh, it's all bullshit.
Right, like that's when I say speaking in Cheng-Shin terms, the survival drive, but the force of life, the force of if I don't do this, I'll die.
Yeah,
that force gets attached to this more superficial
and I'm
thing.
saying just it gets attached to it out of habit and out of something that got formed, earlier on, and
so then
trauma or whatever. And
then let me rephrase, because then the farce is the wrong word. It does not accurately represent my experience. It's like the farce, aka the confusion.
Yeah.
It's a fuck up. It's like a whoopsie. It's like oh, wait a minute. I had this drive need too, which is strong, which we could perhaps explain with biology. It makes sense to me to explain it with biology. Like as I'm a growing up organism, I need to feed myself. But then that force gets applied to this social world. And now I've got to be a social, and that shows up a certain way kind of thing. And it's like, oh.
When
So
when I
that's
was in well, when I got who I was, something happened to me overnight. Just prior, I noticed that whenever I needed to ask somebody for a favor, even if it was inconsequential, I always felt like I had to portray myself a certain way, to like get them to like me essentially. And so if I was like, "Hey, can I borrow that?" I'd want to like try to do something for them first,
Uh-huh.
and that was exhausting.
Yeah.
Another thing I did is I was like, if I was at a sport or something, and I had to go to the locker room and change or shower, like I would do it, but I always felt embarrassed in front of other guys, like taking off my clothes.
Yeah.
I just felt embarrassed, like I'm naked.
Yeah.
And right after I got who I was, I noticed, without thinking about it, that I was just willing to go up and just ask people if I could, borrow that or use that, or would it be all right if blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have any resistance to it, and I didn't have any feeling of like I was not valid or I wasn't right, or there was something wrong with me if I had a need for something and they had something that could help me accomplish that. I wasn't trying to take advantage of them or hurt them. I was just seeing if it would, be something that I could do. Same thing. I took my clothes off after like a roll or something, and standing in front of some dudes or something, and I didn't even think about it. And I just noticed it afterwards. I didn't even think about being naked in front of those guys.
Yeah.
It never even occurred to me. Now, I wasn't being an asshole. I was still relating to them. There was still social stuff going on,
Of course.
but it wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a break with my integrity or the way. Now, I was representing myself in some way,
Mm-hmm.
but I wasn't misrepresenting myself.
Yeah.
You see, so the representation and the need for socialization is all there and functional. And as human beings, this is necessary. But the misrepresentation isn't, and it's easy to confuse the misrepresentation for the representation because because we're ignorant about who we are. So in that moment, I went from conflating myself, or like who I am, with a lot of different kinds of activity that I was up to at the time that I didn't know that I was up to.
Yeah.
And then I found me, or as I like to say, I was found.
Yeah.
Because that feels more right. And and then that anxiety just kind of wasn't there for a while.
Yeah.
So I think the pushback that you're going to get from me and from a lot of people is maybe because we mishear you, but it's
Oh, right.
it's
Go ahead.
don't conflate misrepresentation with representation, or social needs with something that's actually dysfunctional and usually a problem.
Yeah, yeah, because I think as you're talking, I think I'm getting a hit on the pushback. Maybe it's like if I say stop needing other people, somebody else might hear that, oh, just go around and be an asshole? Or something like that?
Or transcend. It's sort of like saying, like, stop
if
my arms and legs. It's like, yes, transcend your arms and legs.
Right.
You're always using your arms and legs. Hey, you can't go a day without using your arms
right.
and legs.
If I leave all these other people, something really bad's gonna happen, or I'm gonna turn into a really bad person. No, that's not what I'm saying.
Or
right?
just
like,
life's gonna suck. Like,
right, and it's more like yeah, totally. I think it's like what you were talking about, where if I need other people to see me a certain way, and I have to contort myself and twist myself into fucking knots trying to like be the image I think they need.
Yeah.
That's like carrying a heavy bag.
Yeah. And it is wild.
And the transcendence is like, I fucking just put the bag down and I can just love them or something.
Yeah. And
it's real, and it's not a fake, and I'm not like trying to love them to get something. It's just like, no, here's this. Or I'm upset, or whatever, or but it's real. and I'm just not with the bag anymore, kind of thing. I don't know. Go ahead. You were going to say something.
Well, like I was going to say that you can be fake in a genuine way, like an actor. You take on a role for a function. You can be fake in a genuine way. You can deliberately, like if I step into the role of being a coach at a moment or being a teacher.
Yeah, you be the
I'm fulfilling a function.
Yeah.
I will portray myself in a certain way.
Yeah.
And it is fake, so to speak. But then anything is fake, so to speak. It's like I'm doing that thing. It's like if I'm chopping wood, I'm not carrying water, right?
Yeah.
So does that mean I'm fake because I'm chopping wood and I'm not carrying the water? No, it means I'm chopping wood. I'm teaching the class.
Yeah, like you are really teaching the class. You are really chopping
teaching the
wood,
class.
and in an authentic way. And I think what you mean by is like the fake is just that it's something that you're not.
Yeah, or like if you're an actor, you literally take on a role that isn't you, but you're taking on the role that isn't you, and you're doing it in a genuine way.
Yeah, sure.
You see what I'm saying? But the thing about when you're doing it in a way that feels compulsive and very difficult, you don't think you have a choice.
Yes.
And you think if you stop doing it, you're gonna fucking perish or something terrible is going to happen. And that's an assumption that's not based on reality, but you've carried it with you a long time, and it's worked out pretty well. So it's weird to go in and look with that and mess with that because that thing kept you alive at some point, or at least you thought it did.
Yeah.
So why would you look there?
Right.
That thing's sacred. It's important. You don't want to mess with that. That probably saved your ass when you were 4.
Yeah, maybe.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, or it probably did, because otherwise why do you keep doing it?
How did it get there, right?
Mm-hmm.
It arose for a reason. And so it can be hard to go into those things that really, it's like, well, yeah, the house that I'm living in may not be perfect. The plumbing's a little bad, but hey, it keeps the rain out, you know? I'm not freezing in the winter. It's like,
it's probably more like it's walls and it's keeping out the hordes of murderous creatures that are gonna fucking kill me if I don't keep this wall up. I mean, yeah. Anyway, the structure itself is keeping me alive.
Yeah, I was watching this there's I can't remember his name at the moment, but he has this great YouTube presence. He's this guy who's really been accepted into a pride of lions.
I've seen the South African guy.
Yeah, I think he's South African.
I think he's South African, yeah.
Yeah, he's been accepted into this pride of lions. And those lions have a very social world. I mean, it's extremely social.
Yeah.
And they're big, bad beasts. Yeah. And yet they still have this deep, like, powerful connection, ongoing bonds, system, like, it's complicated, right? So I think the social world that we live in is not any less powerful or important for human beings as it is for those lions.
Oh yeah, no, right, yeah, no.
It gets complicated. It gets
extremely
phony.
Powerful.
It gets full of bullshit. It gets dysfunctional. It gets messed up. But even if you took out all that dysfunction and transcended all of it, there would still be this, very, very, very social world that most of us would inhabit a lot. And even the people that would be pretty hermetic, they'd be off doing their own thing in isolation, they'd still have a few friends. They'd still be doing something with some people sometimes.
In workshops here, had to come over and do some workshops. We do something where you can't be a hermit without others. Like, you can't be a hermit without social anyway. At its core, you cannot be alone without social, which is to say, you need others to be alone.
Yeah.
So that means you actually can't be alone because others are always there somehow. Otherwise, you're not alone. They're with you in a weird way.
I wonder about people who they say they're sociopaths and psychopaths, people who have like no empathy for other people, and they seem to be wired up differently. Like they
Yeah.
literally just look at people as tools,
Right.
you know, and they seem to be like there are people that are a little different,
Yeah.
you know. And I
So
wonder if
what?
their whole version of being alone and not being alone is different or not. I don't know.
Oh, I
They
don't know.
may
I
not.
haven't spoken to any psychopaths like that.
Well, you
Like, hey, do
probably
you
have and just
experience
didn't know it.
loneliness? Oh yeah, well, I've heard there's that too. Like this guy this guy was like a professor or something like that, and he was researching psychopaths, and then he found out he was one.
Yeah. Like,
He's like,
oh,
oh, that explains a lot of that. So, but like
yeah.
he's a functional psychopath, like in a sense, like he teaches people, I guess.
Yeah.
But so I don't, yeah, I don't know about that. I've
Me
never
neither.
speak to any of those. Maybe we could get him on if he is actually a psychopath.
Hey, talk to him about like, hey, do you ever get lonely? Do you
Yeah,
ever?
like, what's your mind like? What's that like? But then you see it like if they're really psychopath, I don't know. Can I trust them? I don't know. Or sociopath?
That's the
I don't know.
question, right? Yeah.
Professor Psychopath. I'm making a note. Maybe we can add him to the list. I want to know.
Mm.
Yeah. But because I have thought about that too, where, and again, it's what I imagine other people think. If I drop this stuff, will I stop caring about other people? See, no. No.
Right.
It's more like being walking through the world, perhaps a little more free to interact how I need to interact, and I can have it be real. And I'm not bound up with this. It's like I have to twist myself into knots to do this thing for no reason. It's more like being free from others in the sense that, oh, they have a perspective and it's okay. Whatever their perspective is, it's okay. I'm okay. I'm just here, working, interacting, whatever. I don't need them to like me, say. And then there's all this activity that I just don't have to do, like you were saying before, where you just took your clothes off and you're like, oh, I didn't do the thing I normally do with that. Huh, that's refreshing. Like, that's easy. Okay. This is better.
Yeah.
Not burdened by all the stuff.
Yeah.
Something like that, anyway.
Yeah. I think validity is a weird thing. I think the word comes to my mind is that most people probably feel in some way that they're invalid.
Yeah.
They're not good enough, or they're not the real deal. They're not authentic. They don't deserve X, Y, or Z.
Mm-hmm.
They're not like those other people do. That guy, of course,
He's got it going on.
He's got it going on. But what do I have? And it's just not the case at all. It's just not the case at all. Like there is nothing invalid at all about who you are. There can't be anything.
Yeah,
You're every bit as authentic as any other human being or any rock in the bottom of a riverbed or star in the sky. You're a real deal. Like
yeah.
It's
just, I imagine it's like just that people aren't in touch with the real deal part.
Yeah, get in touch with the real deal part. Be real.
Yeah, but
it's
then
just
if I'm a faker and I really think I'm a faker and I don't have any contrast, like if I really I don't know who I am, I don't know what I am, say.
Yeah.
Then every attempt I do to be real will be the fake because I am a fake. So then I think
But that's where a contemplation intensive is useful because.
Thank you, John. Exactly what I was looking for.
Because you get to essentially, I think what happens in a contemplation intensive is that your programs get turned like on hyperdrive. It's like, oh, you like that self stuff you do? All right, now we're going to turn it up to 11 non-stop.
Yeah, because you've
And
got nothing else to do. There's no
'cause
more
you got
distractions.
nothing
The
else to
pain
do.
factory. Oh,
So
yeah.
you're going to sit there and you're going to go, who I am, who am I, who am I, who am I? But really what you're going to be doing is you're going to be running your engine at full tilt. And at some point, that engine is going to go. And you're not going to have a choice about that. It's going to happen on its own. You don't get to decide when that happens. You just keep fucking contemplating. Just do your job. Just shut up and contemplate.
Yeah.
And then tell me about it. But if you do that, then eventually that shit's going to break down, and then keep asking who you are, or what you are. And that provides an opportunity now for you.
Yeah, for the reality to show up.
Yeah, because that programming is gonna short circuit. You're gonna have an engine crash.
Yeah, and I also just out of, for people if they're listening, it doesn't necessarily need to crash. Just because sometimes it gets a little weird, but it could also be like, for me, it's like I see it like circles. This is just another way. So I just want you to be clear and people listening to be clear. There doesn't need to be a big fiery explosion. That's just whatever you're making up in your mind based on what he's saying. But it's like, here's another perspective. It's like I run this program and then I run the next one, and then I'm just like, I go around in circles and I've got like 4 or 5 programs that I'm running. And then by the like 5th or 6th time or the 100th time I've run that same thing and had that same experience, I'm like, wait a minute.
What am I doing?
What the fuck am I doing? And it's like, I'm unhappy. And then I'm like, this sucks. And then I'm like, this sucks. And then eventually I'm like, I'm making it suck. I'm just sitting here on a cushion. There's nothing to do. Nobody's making it suck except for me. I'll just stop doing that because, man, I've done it like 100 times already. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't change anything. Fuck. Yeah. And then so I just stop doing it. Like I just let it go or go, oh, there's that again. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And it gets revealed for what it is.
Yeah, I get how what I said could start sounding like a method and it could be a trap. So never mind, forget what I said.
Yeah. It doesn't, like, the engine doesn't need to explode in fiery doom, No, it's just you get conscious of what it is you are up to. And it's like, oh, there's that one. Oh, wow, yeah, I really have a need for other people to like me. I'm a likable guy. By the 1000th time that somebody's like, well, who are you? And I'm like, I'm a likable guy. I'm like, no, I'm not. That's just something I'm saying or whatever.
Yeah.
Fuck, okay. Yep, I'm a likable guy. Now, who's a likable guy? I don't know. And then you go through stuff.
Yeah.
And we do those, by the way. Come on down. Where are you? There you are over there. Come on over.
Yeah.
Click a link.
Yeah, for sure.